And one of the biggest tools in the hands of the masters who run this world is Hollywood. Hollywood is an incredible story. I've said this, and maybe many hearing me now have heard me say this, but I'll say it again, that the white man's establishment comes from Europe. And in northern, southern, well, all four, northeast, south, and western Europe, even at the time of the Roman Empire and before, that whole section of Europe that we call the center for the white man's presence on the earth was quite literally ruled over. Ancient Europe was ruled over by a priesthood called the Druids, and the Druids were they were the ministers, the priests, the judges, the lawyers. They were the religious leaders. So there was a priesthood that dominated Europe. It still does. Europe is still a Druidic country. And America is a Druidic country. And unless you understand the Druidic system, then you're never going to figure out what's going on in America and England. But one of the most important symbols in the Druid system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with the magic wand. And also the orchestra leaders and conductors always have a magic wand. And you had better play to the tune of the master. He directs you to play, and he directs you to stop with the magic wand. So you're dancing to his music, okay? Magic wands were always made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And Hollywood is a Druidic establishment. And the symbols, the words, the terms, the stories are designed. Think about it. Think about how Hollywood does what they do. I'm not saying they're evil. I'm just explaining how Hollywood works. You have, first of all, a story. So somebody has to write the story. All right? So now you've got a story. Now you have to give it to a screenwriter who's going to adapt that story, excuse me, adapt that story into a screenplay. Because you can't just tell the story. You have to design it to be a movie. Now once you do that, then you're going to have the actors. Very important actors. Because you're going to need people to act the part. And so it doesn't mean that they actually have human feelings. No, they're being paid to act like they care. To act like they love someone too. It's an act. And so you're paying actors to act out the part that the screenwriters have written, and you want to make sure the actors do it just right. So you have to have a director, and he's going to direct everything you say and do the way he wants it said. Then you have, of course, the producer, and he's also subjected to the executive producer who's producing the money. And so all of this is a whole system of putting together a system of a story that tells you a story. It causes you to think in terms of what you just saw, so that people go out from the movie and think in their minds, this is the way you normally would react to a situation, the way that the guy in the movie did. And so that's why today, in the Western civilization, especially in the West, our ability to work with each other and live together as humans is so screwed up. Because we've been watching so much television and so many movies and so much silliness coming out of Hollywood, so much violence and sex and drugs and all the rest of it, that people have no idea in the world how to live anymore. They've lost their humanity.
Okay, so you're saying that in many ways Hollywood movies and television are actually sort of doing behavior modification.
Precisely.
Druids have a mixture of Hebraic and Middle Eastern cultural elements. The Druids fulfilled a function in society similar to that of the sages and the Pharisees. In Judah, both groups were a separate class, not more than a clique of priests. Both groups dealt with public affairs. Both groups used the weapon of public ostracism. They used the weapon of public ostracism to enforce their authority. Public ostracism, that means that anyone who disobeys or does not behave himself is shunned, is publicly shunned, and is set aside by the community, and no one speaks to him, no one has any converse with him, and this is a very effective weapon. We also find this amongst the Amish religious group in the USA, and they also use this weapon to this day. This ostracism also includes the exclusion from sacrifices, both amongst the rabbinical authorities and amongst the Druids. Both the Druids and the sages, that is, the rabbinical authorities, were held in great honor. Both did not go to war. Both were exempt from taxation. And both required a long period of training, as well as committing a great deal of laws and of traditions to memory. And there are indications that the Druids did practice a Canaanite form of religion. They also had a human sacrifice, which was a Canaanite practice. And they had other things. They believed in reincarnation, so did the Hebrews, according to Josephus. The Pharisees did.
Often the first thing to go was the Jewish name. The Hollywood Jews were obsessed with erasing anything Jewish in their films, their lives, and the lives of their stars.
Do you know what her name is? Esther Victoria Blodgett.
Hey, we'll have to do something about that right away. Let's see, Esther Victoria, Vicky. How about Vicky?
Oh, I think that's terribly cute.
Let's see, Vicky. Vicky what?
Vicky, pronounced Vicky.
See, Esther, Hester, Dester, Lester. Vicky Lester.
Oh, I like that.
Say it.
Vicky Lester.
Say it again.
Vicky Lester.
Say it again.
Vicky Lester.
Say it.
Vicky Lester.
Say Vicky Lester. Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Theodosia Goodman became Theda Barra. Sophia Kosso became Sylvia Sidney. Isser Danielovich Dembski became Kirk Douglas. Leo Jacobi became Lee J. Cobb. Shirley Shrift became Shelley Winters. Bernard Schwartz became Tony Curtis. David Kaminsky became Danny Kaye. Edward Iskevitz became Eddie Cantor. Melvin Hesselberg became Melvin Douglas. Muni Wiesenfreund, a star of the Yiddish theater, became Paul Muni. Emmanuel Goldenberg became Edward G. Robinson. The G was a reminder of who he really was. Nice Jewish girls, such as Lily Palmer, Julie Holliday, and Lauren Bacall, or Betty Persky, helped to define the American woman.
Where you all going?
Hollywood! Hollywood!
When Jews came to America, it wasn't only Mayflower wasps who seemed to embody America to them. American blacks were quintessential Americans. I mean, that was one of the things that made America America, the presence of black people. And the indigenous African-American culture was of tremendous interest. I mean, the music, the dancing, the popular styles, and so on.
The Hollywood Jews may have wanted to marry into white America, but when it came to music, Jewish composers looked to black America. Harold Arlen, the son of a liturgical singer or cantor, became one of the foremost popularizers of the blues.
Stormy weather, since my man and I ain't together, keeps raining all the time.
Jews served as messengers, in essence, of black culture. They took it, they consumed it, they integrated it into their own cultural repertoire, and then introduced it to white America that was essentially willing to listen to Jews and to partake of what Jews had to offer in a way that they never would from blacks.
First on Broadway, and later in the Hollywood musical, this was the way Jewish music often sounded.
Had lost his way, but now he's coming back to stay. I tell you, little black sheep, come back home. We'll sing what's right and full. Shepherd falling in through the door, he's saving the boy once more.
In writing lyrics, they turned to their Jewish immigrant concerns of people needing to belong somewhere, needing some kind of redemption through America. The Jews took these themes, but instead of putting them to Jewish music, they borrowed black forms that they saw as authentically American. In a sense, they wrote music in blackface.
Shepherd told him through the door, and he saved him the fold once more.
From the beginning, though they indulged in stereotypes, the Hollywood moguls took a different view of African Americans than that of the pre-Jewish filmmakers. Birth of a Nation had played on the white fear of the mixing of the races. In dramatic contrast, in the film Showboat, the white male lead literally internalizes the blood of his black wife.
What are you doing with that knife? I'm not going to hurt her, you fool. Leave me be. I know what I'm doing. It won't hurt much, darling.
The Hollywood Jews wanted to be accepted as Americans. Their films advocated assimilation, not just for Jews, but for everyone. They believed that if you were prepared to pay the price and shed your identity, then America should be prepared to accept you.
I have an unpleasant duty. I understand that you have a miscegenation case on board.
What's it mean, Mom?
How's that? A case of a Negro woman married to a white man. A criminal offense in this state.
No such thing on board this boat.
The name of the white man is Steve Baker. The name of the negress is Julie Dozier.
You wouldn't call a man a white man that had Negro blood in him, would you?
No, I wouldn't. Not in Mississippi. One drop of Negro blood makes you a Negro in these parts.
Well, I got more than a drop of Negro blood in me, and that's a fact.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you. You ain't heard nothing yet. Goodbye. Don't cry.
Warner Brothers' The Jazz Singer was a revolutionary silent film that broke into sound with each musical number. Here, as in the Yiddish film, a cantor's son, played by Al Jolson, who was in real life a cantor's son, has to choose between American fame and Jewish loyalty. At first, the cantor's son seems to choose Judaism. But in assimilationist Hollywood, the story could not end there. Hollywood had to have a Hollywood ending.
Mammy, Mammy, Mammy.
Here, Dad and his old Jewish ways are dead, while the hero in American blackface sings triumphantly with his Gentile girlfriend waiting in the wings.
For one of your smiles, for my Mammy.